Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Watchers live stream for August 1st, 2023. Of course, my name is Garrett.
And I am still Adrian.
Glad to hear that you are, in fact, still Adrian. That is very important. How is everyone out there doing? Looks like we got two early adopters here. Glad to have you with us. Early adopters, early viewers. Jeez Louise, I don't know why I said that. But Adrian, before we dive too much further in, how have you been over this last week?
I've been good, finally kind of feeling like I'm fully back after my bout with COVID. Finally, like fully no symptoms, no energy sucking, anything like that. So feeling great.
Gotcha. The Hawaiian's out of your system?
It is, yeah. I do see Griffin's comment. I am feeling a little less Hawaiian this week. I don't feel like I can say action brother anymore. I just feel like it's been too long now and I'm removed from the source. But how have you been?
Doing good. Honestly, can't quite complain because, hey, who's going to listen to me complain anyway, right?
There's 6 people with us now.
No, it's nothing that bad. It's been a fine week. Back in my usual abode, even though you can tell I've been lazy. That's why I have the blur on, because I didn't clean up my room. But I am still here. Unfortunately, I do not have puppies with me, so I cannot show puppies. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to get to this week, so we should probably jump in.
Let's jump in.
Alrighty. First up, and if you saw the name of our live stream this week, you'll know what the topic is mostly going to be this week. That's delays. Starting us out is that Spider-Verse 3, Beyond the Spider-Verse, has been delayed indefinitely. This is due to the Writers Guild and Actors Guild strikes that are ongoing.
Yep.
I mean, they said this is supposed to be coming out in March of next year. Everyone's saying that wasn't likely to begin with. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see if that's in fact true.
Yeah, you'll notice a trend here with the next bit of news being that Kraven the Hunter has also been pushed back pretty much a whole year. So similar vein, just with everything going on, not being able to market it, everything's being pushed back.
Yeah, I mean, a year is a pretty big push. Either they're having to do some reshoots or something, and they're kind of using this. Well, they can't because the actors can't come in and refilm. I mean, it's got to be because of the strikes again.
I mean, it could still be that they do need to do reshoots, but they can't until the strike is over. So that's causing it to just push out indefinitely.
Yeah, it's just going to be affecting a lot of things here, as we will discuss. So, speaking of discussion, because I have no other segue to get to this topic, Kevin Spacey has a new film called Control that is eyeing a late 2023 release. This is right on the heels of the clearing of his sexual assault charges. He has been found innocent of the crimes that he was accused of, and is attempting a comeback, even though we'll have to wait and see if anyone in Hollywood's going to take him back.
I mean, I definitely think he's an amazing actor, so the fact that he's been cleared of everything, it more just makes me really bummed that we didn't get the House of Cards ending that we should have. It feels like that show was robbed of all of its glory. And I'm excited to see his comeback. I feel like if it is true and those were all lies, I feel like he kind of got a wrench thrown in his career for no reason. And that's not fair either. So hoping to see the comeback work.
Yeah, I mean, again, a great actor. Now that we know that everything against him was false and that he was cleared of his crimes, hopefully he's able to make some sort of a comeback.
Yeah. And really exciting news, the Talk to Me directors, the new A24 horror film, are now confirmed to be doing the Street Fighter film, which I'm actually a little bit bummed about. I feel like this is kind of a step in a different direction than I think I would have wanted to see them go. But we don't know. I mean, just the past Street Fighter movies are what I'm going off of, which are historically pretty terrible. So I'm just hoping that this can kind of they can make it their own, make it unique, and make it worth watching.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, though, I think this is more on brand for Danny and Michael Philippou, based off of their original content on YouTube. They did like a live action Mortal Kombat and other kind of video game related videos. And I think this is actually more on brand for them. And I remember there was a video interview that they did with somewhere where they were actually like pretending to fight each other during the interview. And you can tell that they're just so excited to make it. And I think, honestly, with how much money Talk to Me has made and the fact that it's already a success, compared to how much money it was spent to make it, it makes sense that they'll be given something a little bit bigger budget.
Yeah, no, I agree with the bigger budget thing. I think I would have liked to have seen them stick with maybe something a little more indie or a little more, I don't know, not pre-existing IP. Like, I think I would have liked to have seen them had a little more creative freedom. But again, you do get a lot of creative freedom if you're under the right studio like A24. So I could just be talking based off past experience with Street Fighter films. So I'm hoping it's better.
Yeah, hopefully. And not, of course, or whatever that meme is that comes from it. Next up, from San Diego Comic-Con, I believe we got word that the Invincible live-action movie is still in development. Invincible, of course, being the uber-popular Amazon animated show about superheroes with everyone's favorite I guess he's a villain, Omni-Man. Some sort of Invincible live-action movie is in development. That's all we know. And it's they still want to make it desperately, which they've shown that Invincible is a property worth it. They've got a video game coming out. They've got season 2 coming out. All sorts of other kind of content. I think Amazon's really going into the Invincible universe, which is kind of funny because it's kind of similar to The Boys in a way.
It's kind of similar to The Boys. We also got another one. It was called like something Jupiter. It was like a live action show that was canceled as quickly as it was made, which was an equally like ultra violent live action superhero movie, very similar to Invincible. Came out right around the same time.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember what exactly it's called.
All I can think of is Jupiter Ascending, which was the Mila Kunis and
Jupiter's Legacy is what you're thinking.
Jupiter's Legacy. So they kind of like tried. So I'm hoping that the story is what makes Invincible so good, and that they can keep that core narrative into their bringing it into live action. So fingers crossed.
100%.
Speaking of the opposite of live action, Paul Rubens has passed away at 70. This is, of course, is the actor who played Pee Wee Herman. Honestly, an iconic actor and influence on film in general and comedy. So very, very tragic passing. Did live a long life, though. I didn't really read too much into what has happened. I don't think there's been any confirmation, at least that I saw when it happened like yesterday or the day before. But still, very tragic.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is sad to lose him. It's sad to lose everyone that passes away, unfortunately. Speaking of not dying, is Tom Cruise's career. Tom Cruise's R-rated film, which is considered the gnarly one, is confirmed by Mission Impossible 7, I believe is the latest one. Director Christopher McQuarrie, who confirms that he's been talking with Tom Cruise a lot about kind of going back to his R-rated roots, kind of similar to Collateral and films like that.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, it would be weird to get an Eyes Wide Shut too.
Eyes Wide Shut also.
There you go. Eyes Wide Shut harder. Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I mean, Tom Cruise has been kind of pigeonholed into these big budget franchise films for so long. And he said that he's wanted to do that to kind of bolster back the theater going audience, which is commendable. But you know, he's also just a good actor beyond being a good stunt performer.
Totally.
So would love to see him do more like Collateral, especially.
I would love to see more like Vanilla Sky, kind of like that old kind of the surrealism stuff. I would love to see more of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Speaking of what we won't be seeing more of, Adam Driver unlikely for Fantastic Four following reports. This was a little bit of a rumor that was going around the mill. Looks like it's not going to happen. So I'm okay with it. I feel like I was already kind of hesitant about it in the beginning, so kind of makes sense that it wasn't true.
Yeah, it's unfortunately going to be one of the things that's going to happen. We're going to hear a lot of rumors kind of going on before we get to there. I don't think we're going to hear any casting news before the Screen Actors Guild strike is over, which just sucks because we still have yet to hear anything about Fantastic Four. But I was really hoping for this one. I think Adam Driver would have been a great fit. Yeah. So, and speaking of, did you hear the rumor? Not a rumor, but someone asked Cillian Murphy if he would be interested in playing Dr. Doom. And he said, absolutely. It just depends on the script.
Yeah.
So,
and I think he wouldn't pick a script that he didn't. I mean, he's kind of known for picking and choosing the ones that he feels will really take off. And I feel like that could be crazy.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we got some comments since we're halfway through the news stories. Adrian, if you want to go ahead and pull one of those up for us.
Sure.
Hello, Kevin. Nice to see you. Griffin, I can tell that brother sounded much more Hulk Hogan than Hawaiian.
It really did. It's been too long. I got to go back.
Kevin, almost done with Dune.
The book or the movie?
I believe I told him to watch the movie, definitely, because we saw the trailer for it in front of Oppenheimer. So
I'll tell you to read the book. It's very good.
There you go. Recommendation from Adrian.
Do you think A24 gets a big director, maybe the next Nolan, due to no real end in sight for this strike? I don't know. I think A24, hopefully they're leading the charge, and it does create other studios to kind of follow suit and figure it out. I'm hoping that it doesn't last long enough for this to for them to pull anything. But if they do, I mean, I don't see why not. They're already one of the largest in production right now, so it could already be happening.
Zach's already he's a mind reader. He's picking up what our next story is going to be about. But I don't know if they'll necessarily pick up a big director. A24 is about cultivating new talent more than anything. Or if they are bigger directors, they're ones that aren't like Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg. They're more like David Lowery or people like that who are bigger in the indie scene for sure. So maybe the Nolan of indie films.
That's what I'm saying. We might get something that's already in. Maybe that director is already here, right? The Talk to Me directors. Maybe we're already seeing them kind of come up. I mean, who knows?
100%. And I think that especially their their upcoming slate of films and even their past is a good indication of where they're going.
Yeah.
So.
And then from Griffin, we have, it was hard to feel the weight of Paul's tragedy with Garrett's background cackle.
Sorry, Adrian's joke was so good.
It's what Paul Rubens would have wanted.
Yeah, he was a comedian through and through. So, I mean, hey, he made us laugh. But yes, Adrian, that was really good. Caught me off guard. Next up on the storylines here, A24's budgets are reportedly out of control. This is interesting given the fact that they've got several kind of upcoming streaming deals, particularly with Apple TV and such, that are kind of buying into these A24 films for the name and then not pulling their weight, essentially, when it comes to the budget. So A24 is getting strapped with these huge budgets that are kind of going over what they intended to pay. I think a lot of people were starting to show A24 a lot of favor after the Academy Awards, especially since Everything Everywhere All at Once won really big. They're going to want to work with A24 more, but this is, I mean, it's to be expected for a studio that's had a lot of success recently.
Totally.
So.
And speaking of good news, Ghostbusters Afterlife delayed to 2024. If you were a fan of the newer Ghostbusters films, then this is bad news. If you thought it was just okay, then it's okay news. I'm not super heartbroken by this. Obviously, just like with everything else, kind of expected. The delays are kind of sweeping over everything. And I also feel like this one it'd be okay to me if it gets lost in the archives.
Did you see the Ghostbusters Afterlife?
I did.
Did you enjoy it? I actually thought it was pretty good compared to the other Ghostbusters films.
I thought it was all right.
Okay. I mean, hey, I would have loved to have seen the chance for them to do on a new story and hopefully take it in a new direction. But
I think that's what I would need to see, is to completely move away. I feel like there's still that whole nostalgia kick that we're stuck in, and I feel like I just wanted a new movie, and I feel like the whole movie was still but remember the old movie? And I just feel like we can move on. True.
Hopefully that's what the sequel is going to do, but we'll see. Next up, Madame Web's release date has been moved up by Sony by 2 days, opening on February 12th instead of February 14th. And Venom 3 will be releasing on July 12th, 2024. Interesting that they moved a film up and announced a date, given everything going on with the dual strikes right now. But I mean, obviously Venom 3 was probably filmed before the strikes, and they're just getting a lot of time to work on visual effects. Same with Madame Web. Madame Web was in production way earlier this year. So,
I honestly feel like this is a show of strength from the studio, trying to show that, hey, this isn't slowing us down. We've still got huge movies coming out. But I also think that this is short-sighted. Like we've talked about, I don't think, even though we're seeing delays already, we won't see the real impact of this for a few months until we start to see the real delays that come out. So I think this is them trying to get out in front of it and say, hey, we're still doing okay with all this, but I don't see this lasting.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of talk of films being delayed, it's interesting. Again, it's nice to see some that are actually still coming out and getting dates. So, I mean, I'm not going to complain with it too much. But yeah, Madam Web and Venom 3.
Yeah. And in the ongoing, ever-going, forever-going world of sequels, Bad Boys 4 is supposedly going to come out on June 14th, 2024. So if we're all still fans of Will Smith, then he will be in the film, and it should be similar to Bad Boys 3, 2, and 1. I did enjoy the third one, actually. It wasn't like as good as the first two, but it was still super fun. So this is one that I would be kind of willing to hop on board with.
Yeah, did you know that Bad Boys 3 was the highest grossing film of 2020?
I did. Well, it was like the only blockbuster movie that came out.
That
pretty much.
And Tenet. It's kind of amazing that Tenet didn't make more money. But I haven't seen any of these movies, which would be an interesting binge watch for me. I did start watching one of the films that inspired these films, which is Police Story, which is a Jackie Chan film from I believe the 80s. Excuse me. But yeah. And
nice.
Again, weird that it's coming out, but
June 14th, 2024.
We'll take it. Next up, Gran Turismo has been pushed back 2 weeks to August 25th. No reason for this delay that I've seen anywhere online. Either most likely just
took longer than usual.
Maybe the cars just had to slow down for a little bit too long. But probably just because of the strikes again, and they're not going to be able to really, publicize the movie as much as they were going to. But I mean, it's still coming out in August, and I'm still excited for it. So
yeah. And not really a delay, but something more interesting is that Paramount has decided to cut back on theatrically releasing animated films. Historically, a significant portion, or at least a portion of their library has been animated films and animated shows. So them cutting back on completely theatrically releasing them is a really big move, especially with animation taking off the way that it has been. It seems like a odd one. I don't know if it's I don't know the logic behind it necessarily, but clearly there must be some financial motive or something to it.
Got to be something behind it. I think the original article said that they're cutting the amount of original animated films that are going into theaters, and I guess the sequels and stuff like TMNT will still come out in theaters. That's not going to launch on Paramount Plus or whatever. But I mean, it sucks because I think animation is finally starting to be seen as truly equal to film, which has always been. But I mean, hey, we've had a slew of good animated films recently. I don't know why they're making this decision seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But in great news for Adrian and I and anyone else out there that shares this passion with us, more D&D movies are likely from Paramount. This is awesome news considering the first movie did not. I mean, it only made a little bit of money off the back of its budget. But the head of Paramount has said that they do want to, in fact, make more of these, which is fantastic. They just, as they said, they need to find a way to do it for cheaper.
Yeah, I think what they really found in the market research was that there is a fan base for this. And you just have to find that sweet spot of cost versus income to make it so you can appease to all those people. And if you can find that sweet spot, then that's money.
Yeah, and I feel like over half the people I talked to that saw the movie have never played D&D, and they just said it was a good movie. Yeah, which is there's more. You could really appeal to a lot more people if they just tried. But yeah, they just got to be able to make it for cheaper.
Yeah. And speaking of things that are meant to appeal to everybody, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie has been confirmed to be rated PG-13. So all of you hoping for an R-rated film, you will have to wait. I wouldn't be surprised if, similar to Megan, we get an uncut version of this movie, either post-theatrics or on the Blu-ray. I do feel like it does have that market, especially because a lot of adults do play this movie, but I get what they're going for. They want the wide accessibility. They want everyone to go see it. So I understand.
Yeah, the problem with this is you're going to see a bunch of kids in your theater because this franchise appeals to kids for some unknown reason. Just the fact that it has colorful characters. It is a horror franchise, and all your robots are filled with dead children. This is not okay for kids. Ugh, it's weird. But hey, I'm not going to stop them. And actually, PG-13 movies do better financially than R-rated movies do. It's always been the case. So
yeah, that's why they're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
you won't get more of them if you don't get a good first one. That's what we always see. So they're definitely trying to make a name for themselves.
There you go. Oh, that is not me. That's Adrian. Hi. Next story. Scripts are in development currently for Rock'em Sock'em Robots and Hot Wheels. Rock'em Sock'em Robots, starring our lead human being hybrid Vin Diesel, is the one leading that charge for Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and Hot Wheels, under development from director J.J. Abrams, which is actually an interesting choice.
Yeah.
The Hot Wheels movie getting the update that they have done a first pass of the script, or at least it was done before the strikes were, and it is surprisingly deep and grounded, given the content, which I don't know if that's necessarily going to work.
All I want, they should just watch Speed Racer and make another version of that movie. Is so good. They should just make that movie differently.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need anything fancy. I don't need anything new. Grounded's an interesting choice. Just take care of it. Don't ruin it.
Speed Racer with better written characters, I think would help it be very successful.
Yeah.
Or just give it to the same scriptwriters as Barbie. Who knows?
And final piece of news today, Barbie is nearing $1 billion with still no plans for a sequel from Greta Gerwig. This is understandable. I think it definitely needs to be a standalone film. I guess I will take this time to give my quick thing. I did see it over the weekend. I did think it was very good. I would probably put it at like an 85% if I had to give it a rating. I think because it's such a commentary on society, I found myself being pulled out of the movie a lot and not really like just enjoying it all the way through. And I feel like a lot of it was really on the nose, which was totally, I loved all the messages and I thought it was really fascinating. I just think the actual like movie part of it was a little bit thin, and that they favored the commentary more than the film, which is okay. That's why it still gets an 85 for me. But yeah, I definitely don't. I definitely feel like Oppenheimer is the better of the two movies, for sure.
For sure, Oppenheimer is the better film.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see that a film like Barbie is getting that much money. Because it's just, it's well deserved. And I mean, hey, round of applause for Greta Gerwig, only making 3 movies before this, and then all of a sudden she's going to have a $1 billion film.
On the map. Yeah, I mean, if she wasn't already, this is huge. The movie, I mean, yeah, it's for a third time. I mean, amazing work all the way around. I think the music choice, the style, everything was amazing.
Yeah, and if the film does hit $1 billion by the end of the week, I believe it'll be in the top 5 fastest grossing movies to $1 billion in history. Which
makes sense.
crazy.
I mean, we went and saw it a week after release in theaters, and it was, I don't think there was an empty seat in the theater a full week afterwards.
Yeah, kind of crazy. But that is it for the news stories for this week. Quite a lot to go over this week.
Yeah.
But hey, it is all good. Let's go ahead and jump into the remaining comments. Zach Stanridge, any thoughts on Dead Reckoning being a borderline bomb at the box office? $290 million budget and only $140 million domestic so far. It seems like the most underreported story of 2023. I think that it's still made more money than Flash. So it won't be as nearly as bad a story as that movie was.
Yeah, I do think it was a flop domestically, but globally it is not. It's always kind of been a little bit more of a global franchise, kind of like the rest. Like the rest of the world's much bigger than us. I do think that they're trying really hard to bury the fact that it only made 140-ish, 150 million domestic. And I think it also makes sense because it's totally a setup movie. It's a part 1 of part 2, and it doesn't feel like its own movie. It feels like it's the first part of a film, of a larger film. And I think that anyone that did go see it probably gave that feedback, and I think that stops word of mouth from people going to see it. It's the same thing that happened with Quantumania. All you need is those few people to go, it was okay. I'm ready for the part 2, for someone not to go see it. And I think that's just the case of what we saw happen. It's still very good. You just gotta give it a chance.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like it's the opposite, but same effect as Flash, because Flash didn't have good reviews when it came out, and it bombed. And then Dead Reckoning had really good reviews, and still bombed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. Maybe it just wasn't marketed well enough. I mean, that first trailer was abysmal.
I think that's kind of what it was too, is I feel like it definitely didn't do the same marketing budget as some of these other films that you see. Like, I didn't see any billboards of it. Just kind of came out.
Yeah. Literally, if there's a modern example on how to market your movie, it's Barbie.
Yeah.
100%. Next up, Matt Walls. Hello, this is like my 5th live stream I've been in today.
Well,
welcome.
hello.
Spread those live stream cooties out that you've been accumulating from all these streams you've been on. Kevin, where do you look up the news? Comingsoon.net. And I'm usually a mix between them and Variety.com. Those are the two that I use the most to get our stories from. And then if I see a story scrolling through Google News, during the day, I'll add it. But I have to verify it's true. So you got to use good sources. You can't just use weird sites like Joe's Movie Shack or whatever. I don't know. Although Joe's Movie Shack is a reputable source.
Oh, good thing you mentioned it in the unreputable sources section.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Joe. We lost that sponsorship. Cassidy, Adrian is anti-feminist. You heard it here first.
It's true.
That's why he didn't like Barbie.
That's exactly why I didn't like Barbie.
That's why you gave it an 85. Zach, with Barbie's success, what would your toy to screen number one pick be? I just butchered that sentence completely. No prior installments. Basically,
what would my first movie of a toy to screen film?
Yeah.
I'm running through them all in my head real quick. Probably the first Transformers.
No, I think he's saying like a new franchise. Like, would you want to see a reboot? Because he's saying no prior installment.
Oh, you want my new? Oh, I thought he meant the first one of a franchise. I don't know. I would probably like to see Fleshlight.
Like a documentary or something?
No.
Just a film.
Make it an A24 horror film.
That's great. My answer is so stupid compared to that. Well, if you're going to think about it could be a real answer. I'm going to cheat a little bit, even though we are getting a TV show, but it's not a movie. Even though it's not really a toy, I'm going to say Warhammer. Would love to see a Warhammer film. Technically, we already got one with Event Horizon, but it doesn't really count because it's not tied to it.
I 100% think we're already getting a Funko Pop movie. I'm just looking around. What toys do I play with? We already got G.I. Joe.
To be fair, we already got the Lego movie too, and that's my entire childhood.
Oh, I would love a reboot of Bionicles.
That would be cool. I like that. Either that or a reboot of Small Soldiers would be cool too.
That would be cool, yeah.
Someone did a proof of concept on YouTube and it was really good.
That's cool.
And last up here, Cassidy, Etch-a-Sketch. There you go. That could be your A24 horror movie.
Oh, we could also do board games. Like, we could do Hungry Hungry Hippos.
There is that.
Oh, it'd be interesting? Life, the game of life. Oh, I have it!
Okay.
Eureka! Let me be like Timothée Chalamet. Huh. Double, huh? I think we should do the one where you have to... It's the Guess Who? Where you have like the little flip things. Except it's a horror movie, and when you're not picked, you die. So it's like you know what I'm talking about? What is that game called?
It's Guess Who.
Is it Guess Who? Okay.
Yeah.
Where like it's someone's picked, and you have to guess who it is, and it's like a Saw type of film where everyone else has to be murdered, like a trolley moral dilemma thing.
That would be interesting. A24, get on it.
There you go.
Buy those expensive Guess Who rights. And actually, our friend Jose here has a good one too. The Nerf movie. Think of the possibilities.
Beyblade, Bakugan.
Ooh. There you go. Those work. Zach, Rescue Heroes was my pick.
Good one.
That, yeah. And Cassidy, Polly Pocket was announced with Lily Collins. I didn't hear any news about this, but
I didn't see that either. But I believe
interesting to hear. Alrighty, let's go ahead and move right along into the trailers we saw this week.
A lot of things.
We got some big ones. What are you looking forward to here, Adrian?
I mean, Saw X is keeping my interest as much as I'm like kind of over the whole thing. It does seem like a kind of revision, especially because kind of dealing with like scammers and stuff, which seems kind of fun. But I do have to, just out of sake of nostalgia, I do have to say that I am stoked to see Spy Kids Armageddon.
Well, there you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Adrian's going to be day one Netflix viewer for Spy Kids Armageddon.
I'm going to set it up just my own home, like the guy who saw Oppenheimer in the first row of IMAX. I'm going to sit right in front of the TV and experience it in full.
Got your little bowl of cereal with you, and like you're like in your pajamas, and you're like ready to go. I think the Saw X trailer looks fine.
Yeah.
It's losing the soap opera look. Look that some of the later films had. But I'm gonna go ahead and I think Strays looks like it's gonna be really funny. So
yeah,
I'm down to see that movie. Alrighty, and that's all the trailers that came out this week. Let's go ahead and we'll get into my favorite part of the show, because it's the one where I get to talk about the movies that I saw in the last week. And last week, Adrian, if you remember, I was talking about the movie that I was watching currently before we finished the show, which is They Cloned Tyrone, the Netflix exclusive film. Gave it a 78 out of 100. I said that in what it feels like a blend of genres and styles, They Cloned Tyrone is a fun yet uneven time on Netflix. It's definitely unique, and in a few years, it may wind up in similar conversations as Get Out and Us. Not quite as a horror outing, but much more like a I don't know. It's kind of like it's a weird like blaxploitation, Everything Everywhere All at Once type feeling movie. Kind of like Black Dynamite meets Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's probably the best way I can possibly put it. It's a really fun movie. You should check it out on Netflix. It's one of their better original films in a while. After that, I went on a tear of watching some Charlie Chaplin films, and the first one up was A Day's Pleasure from 1919, giving it a 58 out of 100. I said, this is very much Chaplin still finding his voice, so to speak. It has his trademark comedic moments and some impressive camera work for its time, but it's short. The short fails to live up to some of his later work, which is unfortunate. Then was The Immigrant from 1917, another Charlie Chaplin film. The Immigrant has some wonderful moments of slapstick comedy and heart to it, and it feels like the perfect length. Its ending is a bit questionable, though, and I wonder what the context behind it is. If you're interested in figuring out what I mean by that, you'll have to check out the film. It's on HBO Max. Next up is A Night in the Show, another Charlie Chaplin film from 1915. Give it a 34 out of 100. Compared to Chaplin's other work, this feels boring, repetitive, and dull. It's cool that he plays two characters, but a pointless blackface actor, women not being treated well, and unfunny humor directed towards those who are overweight makes this one worth skipping. Very unfortunate from Charlie Chaplin, who's usually pretty good with his humor. Next up, watch 2023's Evil Dead Rise. Watched this with my brother and his fiance. We had a wonderful little movie night for it. Gave it an 84 out of 100. I said, this is the best Evil Dead since Evil Dead 2. So much fun, great camera work, and gory kills make it such a great time. While the child actors don't quite hold up their end all the time, and the first act is a little slow, the film rises above these complaints to be just so much fun. If you're looking for a fun, violent horror movie that for some may be hard to sit through, check out Evil Dead Rise. It's also on Max now. After that, we watched Evil Dead 2, because Evil Dead 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time. Wonderfully funny and brutally bloody, Evil Dead 2 is far above its predecessor and easily the best film in the series. It's a brilliant example of what you can do with a low budget and a lot of heart and passion. So much fun. And finally was A Dog's Life, another Charlie Chaplin film from 1918, giving it a 75 out of 100. Gotta hand it to a well-trained show dog in the 1910s. While the story is a bit boring, Chaplin's gags save it. It's a bit overlong, and you can only handle so many stories about his titular character, the tramp, falling in love and wanting to settle down. The overall stories kind of repeat the same. It's more so going to be the visual gags and the humor that are different every time they keep you coming back. One of the best parts of Chaplin's entire filmography is his great comedy. And if you would like to see any more of those reviews or keep up to date on what I watch, you can follow me on Letterboxd at Garrett_O'Keefe. It's on the screen there. But yeah.
I out of all those, I have seen Evil Dead Rises. I watched it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. 84 feels good. I'm not mad at it. I feel like it's a bit high. I feel like maybe it's just not my kind of movie, but it felt like it just relied on the gore, which was pretty well done. And there were a couple of gimmicks. I found the movie at its best when it was like introducing things, kind of what you're talking about, the slow first act. Like I loved the stuff with the vinyl record and stuff like that. Like that was all super fun. And then I feel like once it kind of got towards the basement at the end or the parking garage, feel like it just was like gore for gore's sake, but it was definitely one of the best in a long time. I did have fun with it.
I mean, the series has always been about those brutally gory moments. It's been its bread and butter. You know,
I just feel like this one didn't have the same humor that like the other ones had. Like it kind of went straight for horror, so it felt like it lost itself a little bit.
I would say there is some humor that comes through, and just how like over the top brutal it can be. Like there's that kind of like you're kind of like gut instinct to go, oh man. So like not quite humor per se, but it it does make you giggle a couple times, and especially if you're an Evil Dead fan like me.
Sure,
you pick up on all the kind of Easter eggs and things that they put in.
Totally.
There. So,
well, we did get one comment. Zach says, any thoughts on Haunted Mansion? Looking like another big flop for Disney. Reported $150 million budget. Yeah, I think Cassidy does want to go see this. I'm kind of iffy on it, but I'm down to see a movie. So we're just kind of, I guess, waiting. I haven't really heard too much feedback on this. Have you?
I've heard good things and I've heard bad things. It's just been kind of like,
meh.
Mixed, depending on who's watching it. The biggest overall piece of like, that I hear is that it's more of a horror movie than the Eddie Murphy one was, and so if you're trying to get your kids into horror movies, it's a perfect movie for horror, like for kids, like a perfect horror movie, for kids.
Okay.
Kind of like the Munsters was trying to be. This kind of feels much more appropriate for that. And I mean, hey,
seemingly a flop, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it opened below expectations. I don't know. I think Disney is just focusing a little too much on their properties and needs to start looking into some original content. But
I completely agree. I was just going to ask, do you feel like we're starting to see the age after the golden age of Disney, where
for sure,
like I think we're starting to see post Top Dog Disney era, and I'm interested to see what that is and who takes reign as top dog. I think it just honestly stems from oversaturation of them owning every single property in movies right now.
For sure. And I think that really is what it's boiling down to is we're seeing the fruits of Bob Chapek's time. We're not seeing the movies made under Bob Iger. He's not the ones that were crankrolling these movies, and I think that you're starting to see some of the cracks in the system. It's definitely the weakest Disney's been in a while. But there has to be something else to it rather than just, like they're not performing well. There has to be some sort of deeper level to it. I'd have to honestly look through and watch all their newest films again and kind of pick up on what they're doing wrong, but you never know.
Sure.
I mean, they have the talent there. The talent is there. It's just maybe it's being wasted on not original IP.
That's what I think I think the whole like re-release all the films for the next generation just isn't hitting the way because it's a different generation. The stories don't necessarily hit the same. So I think we're losing a lot of money and time to those old IPs being revitalized.
For sure. And Jose adds a good point. I almost feel it's burnout with the properties they have, which is
that's what I said. Yeah, oversaturation. Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I told I don't remember who I was talking to, but they were like, "Yeah, there's another Haunted Mansion movie coming out," and they're like, "Another one?" And I think that's kind of just become the prevailing thing. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think what else is really weird about what Disney's doing is it's not like the last Haunted Mansion we got was before our lifetime. So like. Yeah.
I went to the theaters for the last one.
That's what I think is so weird is like we were old enough to experience the last ones and we're already getting new ones, which I think is too close. And like now we're getting to the point where Moana is coming out with its remake within like 5 or 6 years or something like that. Like it's just getting so quick to turn these around because they don't have any new IPs. So they're just bankrolling, hoping that they can cash in, and I think that's just because they're financially focused, and I think they need to not be.
And what I really think it's going to come down to is taking chances. You have to keep taking chances, like Strange Worlds. Strange Worlds, it didn't come out and do that well, but if you don't try and do those original stories, you're really like you're like, oh yeah, that one movie didn't work, so let's make 10 live action remakes.
Strange Worlds is also pretty good. Like I really enjoyed it. It was really fun.
I have yet to see it actually. I do want to watch it. It's just I think it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have no idea. But I'm really excited for Wish, though, coming at the end of this year. I think Wish looks really, really, really good.
All right. Well, enough about what Garrett did watch this past week. Everyone wants to go to the movie theaters this weekend, so let's go ahead and talk about what is coming out. Coming out tomorrow night, actually, you can go see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. If you aren't familiar, it's the new Seth Rogen film about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Turtle Brothers as they work to earn the love of New York City while facing down an army of mutants. Pretty straightforward, getting great reviews. Then we also have Meg 2, The Trench, the Jason Statham film. Jonas Taylor leads a research team on an exploratory dive into the deepest depths of the ocean. Their voyage spirals into chaos when a malevolent mining operation threatens their mission and forces them into a high-stakes battle for survival. Pitted against colossal prehistoric sharks and relentless environmental plunders, they must outrun, outsmart, and outswim their merciless predators. And the slogan for this movie is New Meg, Old Chum, which for Jason Statham, I just feel like is an absolutely killer tag. And this you can go ahead and see on Thursday to wide release. Then we have What Comes Around, a new IFC film. In this immersive thriller directed by Amy Redford, a young love affair becomes a menacing game of cat and mouse. Nothing and no one are as they seem. This one is limited release, does come out on Thursday night for midnight release. It does have a pretty, I think, no-name cast for the most part, but it is getting kind of mixed reviews. So if this is something that interests you, go ahead and check it out. It is limited, so you might have to drive a bit. Then we have Till Death Do Us Part. This one's getting really good reviews initially. After bailing on her wedding, a former bride-to-be must fight off her ex-groom and 7 angry killer groomsmen in order to survive the night. This one comes out on Thursday to midnight release to limited release. This one seems super fun and original. This one kind of feels a little bit like Scott Pilgrim versus the World and kind of like its concept of fighting through multiple rounds of people. So it does have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes as of today. And then we also have Shortcomings, Sony movie. A trio of young Bay Area urbanites, Ben Tanaka, Miko Hayashi, and Alice Kim, as they navigate a range of interpersonal relationships, traversing the country in search of the ideal connection. This one comes out on Thursday as well to limited release. And then last but not least, we do have Passages. Celebrated filmmaker of Love is Strange makes a breathtaking return with Passages, a fresh, honest, and brutally funny take on messy modern relationships. Starring quite a few people, set in Paris, this seductive drama tells the story of Thomas and Martin, a gay couple whose marriage is thrown into crisis when Thomas begins a passionate affair with Agatha? I don't know. A younger woman who he meets after completing his latest film. This one has multiple staged releases, so it's coming out this Thursday to limited release, and then it's getting an expansion on the 18th and the 11th, so 2 expansions, and then it's also kind of going wide after that at some point. But that one is available in limited release if you have a theater that's playing it this weekend. And that's all I got.
Yeah, got some interesting stuff for sure. TMNT looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Some good reviews for that. And Meg 2, it exists. Those trailers are just absolutely ridiculous, and I love them for it. But that's enough about what's coming out this weekend. Let's talk about what happened last weekend, and it's much the same as what happened last weekend. On top of the box office with Barbie bringing in $93 million, the biggest second weekend of the year, which is huge. Oppenheimer coming in with $46.7 million in second place. Haunted Mansion bringing in $24.1 in third, debuting at third. Honestly, pretty good compared to the competition it's up against. Sound of Freedom coming in with $12.8 million in its third, almost a month now. I think on July 4th. And then Mission Impossible with $10.6 million in fifth place. Unfortunately, it's sad to see that giant tentpole film falling that fast, but hey, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Especially when met by Barbie and Oppenheimer. I mean, what did they expect?
Yep. The combined might of Barbenheimer is what's going to throw it off. But now comes to the third week of our brand new segment, which is viewer submission time. So I need all of you to jump into the comment section and suggest some movies that you want me to watch for next week, and I will watch them and give my honest review of them. And while you guys are getting those suggestions in, you can do more than one. We only have 5 or 6 viewers kind of concurrently right now. Go ahead, subtract, put in, I would say, maximum of 3. We don't want to overload Adrian with putting in movie recommendations.
Oh, honestly, enter as many as you want. We will be picking 2 that Garrett will be watching this week, and you'll get a review on the movie that is selected next week. So go ahead and comment. If no comments, then I will pick 2 movies, and Garrett will watch the ones that I select. So if you want to avoid that, go ahead and comment.
But while you are all getting those in, let's go ahead and talk about the movies that were selected last week. And up first was the movie Tremors from 1990, which I ended up giving a 72 out of 100. Tremors does just enough to rise above its monster movie schlock. It's fun, often funny, and its cast is having a blast, and it boasts some incredible creature effects. The practical effects are great in this movie. There's also some craft behind the script, with the setup of important moments happening earlier in the film. Kind of feels similar to in a lot of ways to how Edgar Wright directs his films. How he sets up things earlier and they come back to fruition in the end. I just wish the dialogue was as good. The dialogue is a bit of an annoyance occasionally. Definitely a 90s film in a lot of regards when it comes to its dialogue, which is unfortunate because that's one of the weaker parts of the film. But 72 out of 100. It's a lot of fun. It's better than a lot of monster movie creature feature films. So you should check it out if you want to check it out. I did have to rent it, so that is important. And then Stand By Me was the other one. 2 movies with so much in common that it's crazy. Gave Stand By Me from 1986 an 84 out of 100. This is a great film. Made with an almost storybook-like quality from director Rob Reiner, Stand By Me is easily one of the better Stephen King adaptations. It's perfectly paced, coming in at an hour and a half. This movie is I think it's right under an hour and a half. Perfect length. That's what she said. And even its quietest moments feel important. I certainly find some of the characters annoying, though, and I don't attribute that to the actors as much as the writing, I think, for characters. I think Stephen King is a great writer, but he definitely struggles when it comes to children. I think that's where he definitely struggled a little bit. Still, it's a great film that touches on the childhood adventures that we all had and we all wished that we had. So it was a lot of fun.
Wonderful. We'll wait about another 30 seconds or so. We do have quite a few entries, but we'll hold out for any last-minute ones. Do you find it enjoyable to be tasked with watching certain films?
It is kind of nice to have something that I have to watch. Just because, when we did the podcast, we had it scheduled out 2 months ahead of time, right? So we always knew what we had to watch. And now that the entire spectrum of film is open and there's over 100 years of film to pick from, it's kind of hard. So having the ability to be given a movie to watch is fantastic. I love it.
Sure. Okay, well, it looks like we have all the submissions. Let me go ahead and
I'm not going to look at them. I'm going to wait till the wheel spins.
Oh, okay. Then I will go ahead and present here. Share screen.
And again, if any film has already been reviewed by me on Letterboxd, I will point it out after it has won the spin. So.
All right. Is that popping up, Garrett?
Yep, I can see it. I'm not looking at it because I don't want to know what it is until it selects.
Okay.
I'm keeping it a major surprise here.
And we are spinning. And the first film is Foxcatcher, suggested by, I believe, Zach.
I believe that is the sports film with Steve Carell, where he was Oscar nominated. Yeah. Okay. I have been wanting to watch that movie, and I haven't yet. So I will totally take that.
All right. I just want to make sure we didn't get any more. Okay. And spinning for the second film. Second film is My Sister's Keeper, submitted by Cassidy.
My Sister's Keeper. I have not heard of it.
It's I believe it's a sad movie. Do you want a third one this week or stick with 2?
You know what? Let's go ahead and give it another spin. Why not?
And we're spinning the wheel. It is the 39th Step.
39th Step. Again, another movie I haven't heard of. I'm not seeing it online. Who requested this one?
That would be Kevin.
Kevin, the 39th Steps? Let me take a look here. The 39 Steps?
The 39 Steps.
There's a couple of them. Which, what year? Oh, are we talking about the Alfred Hitchcock movie?
Yeah.
Is that what he, yeah, it's from Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, totally. I am totally down to watch that. Yeah, it's on Max. Cool. I don't have to rent it. It's the first one out of all these I haven't had to rent. Awesome. And it's also on Criterion. I can finally watch something on Criterion. Cool. Awesome. 3 movies for next week. Totally down.
Perfect.
And I don't
Thanks
think
for
anyone...
your submissions, everyone. Appreciate it. Do you want to know what my selections were going to be?
What were your... hold on. I want to try and guess. I'm going to guess Agent Cody Banks. And... I forget the name of it because it was an inside joke, but the Corbin Blue movie.
Jump In.
No,
it's going to be Bad Boys 1 and 2.
The entire franchise before the 4th one comes out. Hey, maybe I'll just watch them in my free time anyway. Who knows? But awesome. Yeah, 3 very different movies this week. A Hitchcock movie, a sports drama, and it seems like a sad movie. Which, I mean, hey, I'll cry during a movie. I don't care. Happens all the time.
Thank you for sharing.
Hey, man, I don't know what it is, man. The last 3 or 4 years, I've been so much more, in touch with my emotions, I guess you could say, and I get more emotionally invested, which is a good thing. When a film does that to you, it's a good thing. You shouldn't hide it. It's healthy for men. You should be allowed to cry. Yeah, that's it for the show this week. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, go ahead and get them in before we head out for the evening. But until then, Adrian, has there been anything you've been watching, anything you've been playing over the last week that you want to talk about, maybe highlight?
Yeah, watching. I watched White House Down. Not Olympus Has Fallen. It was its twin movie that came out with Channing Tatum and Jamie Foxx. And there's a reason one of those two got a franchise and this one did not. It's entertaining. It just does not hold up as well. And you can tell the budget was smaller. The whole thing takes place in 3 rooms, it feels. And then I also watched the A24 movie, The Deepest Breath, on Netflix. That is an extremely good documentary. It came out about 2 weeks ago. Highly recommend. It's about free diving and the dangers of it and the thrill of it. And it's really, really emotional and really well done. And I'm thankful that A24 picked it up. Then also I did 100% Pikmin 4 this morning at 3 a.m. I was awake. I was so close to the end. I just couldn't stop. So that was a really good game. If you're looking for something to kind of dive into, it's the longest of all 4. And the most to do. It just kind of kept going. Every time I felt like it was over, it just kept on going. And then I'm trying to think. I feel like I watched another movie, but I cannot remember right now. But other than that, just living life, recovered from COVID. Thank goodness after my Hawaii trip. So finally back to 100% and feeling better. How about you?
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the last time we had the show, I was at my parents' house watching their dogs. So I was watching a lot of movies and stuff, which obviously you all heard about. But I've been doing a lot of documentaries as well. Not movie documentaries. These are kind of more show or limited documentaries. So for anyone who's interested, there's a really great documentary series on Warner Brothers right now for their 100th anniversary. I think it's just called Warner Brothers 100. It's a 4-parter, kind of going through all 100 years of the studio's history. Absolutely fascinating. Some really cool Hollywood history in there. The last one's a little grandstandy, hey, we brought the DCEU into existence, and you're like, that's not a good thing. But I mean, it was a lot. It was very fascinating. And there's also I was looking through Disney Plus just kind of idly while I was sitting there, and ended up watching a short documentary that toured. I don't know the exact name, but it was they toured Disney's archives. So they actually went through, and there was a lot of film props they showed off.
That's cool.
There was some of the original matte paintings from some other of their films.
Wow.
They actually went to Walt Disney's house and kind of showed off some are priceless things that were from the house. It was really cool. I mean, it's definitely so there's some cringy little elements in there, like the host talking to people, but the stuff they showed off is really cool. And if you're a Disney fan, highly recommend it. If you're as big a Disney as I am. But besides those, I've been doing a lot of reading on film, actually. Which is interesting. I've been reading Looking at Movies, which is a textbook.
Nice.
And I've actually been reading it like you would a textbook in school. I'm trying to find a thing here. Yeah, where I don't know if you can see it, but there's highlights.
Very cool.
Trying to teach myself more. And then I believe this is the book I got Adrian, but I've been reading The Power of Film, which, look at that. Hey, there you go. Which is really nice. It's kind of got some almost like vocabulary stuff you should know, like going over act structure, duality, all the kinds of things that can come up when you're talking about film and reviewing film and analyzing it. Because, hey, why not continue to try and better yourself and your knowledge? So
totally.
But that's mostly what I've been up to.
Awesome, man.
Literally anything outside of work has just been movies, and something we'll talk about towards the end of the show. But we got some comments here. Zach, who would you say right now is absolutely unequivocal a movie star? Like, no question you'll be at the theater to see this actor.
Tom Cruise.
Well, Adrian says Tom Cruise. I'm trying to think of someone that I just automatically want to see. I guess do filmmakers count as movie stars?
No.
It's just the actors.
Who can they cast to put your butt in the seat?
I'm gonna say Pedro Pascal. I've just really enjoyed everything he's been in. It's mostly been TV shows lately, but if they put him in a movie, I will sit there and I will watch it.
Well, he was in the Nick Cage movie.
Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah,
and he's been in other films, Wonder Woman 1984, not 34, and several others. But he needs more film roles. Get that man some more film roles.
Yeah, and I think Tom Cruise is just the only true action star really doing anything right now in terms of walks the walk and talks the talk kind of thing. And I feel like that always pulls me in, and I'm stoked if he goes back to kind of his old school movies, because what we were talking about, like Vanilla Sky, Eyes Wide Shut, all that's Collateral, those are all amazing films that I would love to see some more of.
Yeah, hey, he's a big star. So hey, got butts and seats for Top Gun Maverick, right?
Yeah.
Next up, Zach, Pikmin 4 Game of the Year and a stellar franchise. That's quite the turnaround.
Quite the turn of face from Zach. I will let you guys all know, we talked about this last week. I actually went down there and confronted Zach. I went and visited him after he called out Pikmin as a franchise, and we fought physically. And I'm glad to see that you finally come around, Zach. It was a great game, and it is a great franchise.
Speaking of games, I forgot to mention I did get back into playing Rainbow Six Siege this week.
I think you mentioned that last week. Yeah.
I think I played one game last week. I played a lot more this week, and
Nice.
It's in a pretty good place. We should play again sometime soon.
All right.
Whoever has it. And then last up, Zach Stanridge. What is the Disney doc name? I was pulling it up while Adrian was talking. It is called Adventure Through the Walt Disney Archives. Through with THRU, not the full word. But it's like an hour. Yeah, it was a really quick watch. And they kind of go to different places in the studios and outside the studio. So, Zach, seemed like Jonathan Majors was going to be the next big movie star before Scandal. 100%. It was kind of like where everything he was in was good.
If we're talking about next big movie star that brings my butt into a seat, it's Cillian Murphy. All the way back from his work in 28 Days Later, 28 Months Later, Peaky Blinders, both of The Quiet Places, and then now Oppenheimer, as opposed to just everything else that he's done. I think he's on track to absolutely be a superstar.
Yeah, 100%. And she has been in a couple of movies, but she's more known for directing. I'm just going to go ahead and say Greta Gerwig. I'm honestly, after Barbie, I want to watch the rest of her film. I haven't watched any of her filmography yet, and I really want to now. And I will probably go out and support anything she makes. I know the next thing she's making is a reboot of Chronicles of Narnia for Netflix. So
That's cool.
But she has been completely terrified, she said, of doing that. So at least she's being honest. Zach, Adam Driver and Tom Cruise are the two biggest draws now. I was going to say Adam Driver. I really enjoy Adam Driver in pretty much everything I've seen him in.
I do too, but he was not enough to get me to see 65.
Yeah.
So like that's where he was a name that popped into my head, but then there was literally the most recent example where I was like, I don't have to go see that. So that's why I dropped that, Zach. But I agree, he's definitely one of the biggest.
Yeah, definitely. Oscar nominated too. So, but awesome. Well, if you have any other comments, go ahead and get them in before we wrap up the stream. Before we do, Adrian, where can people follow us if they don't follow us online yet?
Real Watchers, spelled like the movie Real, REELWATCHERS. On Instagram is the #1 place to get in touch with us. And then on Twitch or on YouTube, we go live every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. And on YouTube, if you go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the bell, Garrett puts a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into really good video essays about film that have gotten some really good feedback. So make sure to check those out too if you have something that either you want to watch really intently, or even if you just want to put something on the background to kind of learn while you're doing some other work. 100% recommend going and check those out. They're pinned on our channel. If you just go ahead and click over there, you can watch them. They're all right there, and they're really fantastic. So again, Real Watchers, REELWATCHERS, at Twitch, on YouTube, and on Instagram. Best way to get in touch with us.
Yes, and as of yesterday, we actually have our updated official TikTok as well, which will be getting some content very soon.
Hey,
so you can go ahead and follow us there. Where I'll be putting out some content very shortly here, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. And speaking of video content, we have a brand new series starting up this Friday. So here on Real Watchers, we're going to see the start of the Real Watchers Movie Club, where every week, me and my co-host Kevin, who we've seen in the comments, will be joining us and talking about some of the best films of all time that more than likely Kevin hasn't seen, or one of us hasn't seen, or maybe both of us. Who knows? We're going off of Letterboxd and IMDb's top 250, kind of basically what are considered to be the best films of all time, and really saying, hey, are they that good? And it's kind of like a book club feeling. There's going to be a different movie every week. We tell you what it is ahead of time so you can watch it and keep up with us and comment in the section below. And we're really excited for it. So I'm sure Kevin cannot wait for me to put that video out. It's been a while. I've been too busy to actually do any editing. Speaking of comments, Cassidy says, what about actresses? It is fair. We did only say male actors.
I did think of both sides. I was just thinking.
I was trying to think too. Yeah. Zach is saying, I'm guessing Margot Robbie and Florence Pugh. I will agree. I would on Florence Pugh. I really enjoy Florence Pugh. I know Adrian's had some difficulty with some of her characters before, but
I even thought she was just okay in Oppenheimer. But also in Oppenheimer, I think Emily Blunt is certainly a huge draw for me with Edge of Tomorrow, Quiet Place, and Oppenheimer. She's a really big get me into the theater. And then, I guess that would be my one pick. I'm just biased this person, but Elizabeth Olsen, I feel like I really like her, and she's more in TV shows or like direct to streaming now, but the next movie she's in, that's 100% a go see for me.
Yeah, I totally agree on Emily Blunt and Elizabeth Olsen. I enjoy both of them very much. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Oh, Rebecca Ferguson's a good actress.
Rebecca Ferguson. I'm gonna throw Viola Davis out there too.
I agree. She's amazing.
And Angela Bassett.
Yeah, and I will throw out the one that I think everybody would probably, or at least most people, this doesn't quite ring true for me, but I think Zendaya is absolutely one of the biggest that pulls people to movie theaters. I think any movie with her in it has a gigantic audience.
Yeah. Likewise, Cassie saying Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone. I would say, especially after Emma Stone's later work, kind of outside of like Amazing Spider-Man and stuff, which she was fine in. Like, I love her in La La Land, and I love her in a lot of other films too. So, Jennifer Lawrence is a little hit or miss for me, personally.
Still didn't get to see her new movie. I really wanted to.
I did as well. Yeah, and she looks like she's having a resurgence. So,
yeah,
glad for it. And she's an Oscar winner too, which is kind of crazy. That I always forget that.
Yeah.
Zach, is it a live stream for Fridays or pre-recorded? It is pre-recorded. It'll be fully edited, and you'll be able to watch it on Friday morning, probably around 6 a.m. ish Pacific Standard Time, so
One
you
of-
can watch it on your morning commute.
One of my favorite things was Denzel Washington talking about his Oscar. In an interview, they asked him where he keeps it, and he said that his favorite answer is to always say next to the other one.
It's great. and I actually just thought of another actor, but it wouldn't work anymore. Pre all of the stuff going on, Kevin Spacey was a draw to theaters.
I'm hoping we can get back there because he was at the top of his game, and to be thrown off course for what's looking to be like false accusations is really a bummer to me.
Yeah. But hey, it's unfortunately the Court of Public Appeal, which is going to have its say. Yeah. So, but looks like that's about it. Oh, actually, got one from Jose here. I'm still waiting for a movie with Margot Robbie and Samara Weaving. I say they look alike enough to be siblings. Yes.
There's that movie Hide and Seek or whatever that I literally got in an argument with Cass because I was like, yeah, that movie with Margot Robbie. And she was like, that's not Margot Robbie. And I was like, yes, it is. I saw the movie.
And I think they're both not sisters. They're both, I don't know why I was saying that. I think they're both Australian. And you're thinking of Ready or Not, I believe is the
yes.
Yeah, she's Australian too. Can we get like a Thelma and Louise remake with the two of them? That would be great.
Parent Trap?
Parent Trap? Well, I think they're a little old for that, but
Cass says, hell yeah, Zendaya for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Judi Dench, question mark? Yeah, I mean, actually, I feel like I would go see a movie if Judi Dench was in it. I do feel like, but not because I think she's like 100% incredible. It's honestly more of like the meme for me now. I would want to go see it just because she's in it, but it would get me in the seat. So yeah, I guess I agree.
Very true. Well, awesome stuff, everyone. That is going to be, it's probably one of the longest streams we've had in a while, but thank you so much for joining us. You've heard where you can follow us. And until then, we will go on live again, obviously, on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when we go live. Check out our new series, Real Watchers Movie Club, coming out on Friday. Should be available around 5 or 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Haven't figured out when I'm going to actually release it yet. And that's if I remember to edit it tonight. And then, we have a lot of content as well coming for TikTok and YouTube Shorts. So some interesting stuff to try and grow a following on those platforms and get them to come over here and make this giant community we get to hang out with. So hopefully. That's the keyword. Hopefully. But thank you so much for everyone for joining us. And until next time, keep your eyes on the screen. Have a good one.